The moment we commodified weddings and started calling it the marriage market, the prospective bride and groom became products. They come with a buying price, they come with a selling price, there is a bargaining chip, there is a lot of to and fro, there is unfortunately not a lot of cashback or money back policy. But then they are depreciating assets, and after, let's say, any marriageable age, be it 25, 28, 30, 32, whatever it is, they start lowering their expectations. They start becoming closer to the expiry date, and the best before date starts coming into play. Vanakkam and welcome to Cinema Express. This is Avinash Ramachandran. In this week's video review episode, we are going to look at director Shanmuga Priyan's Love Marriage starring Vikram Prabhu, Sushmitha Bhat, Meenakshi Dinesh and a bunch of other actors. Love Marriage is a remake of Vishwak Sen's Ashoka Vanamlo Arjuna Kalyanam. It's about mid-30s or early 30s guy who doesn't really get the good girl to get married to. The film's protagonist, played by Vikram Prabhu, is in his mid-30s. He has a stable job, but it is not fancy enough for the marriage market. In this space, what happens is he gets a lot of rejections. His life story, where him getting, not getting the right kind of girl to settle down with, becomes a talking point in his town. He becomes a laughing stock of some sort. His family doesn't see him in the right way. They want him to get married. They want to finish their duty. A lot of these things happen, and somehow they decide that they can't really go for a marriage within their own caste and class because no one is giving him a girl from their own brethren. So what happens is they start finding girls from outside their caste, which genuinely happens in many places once as they say, the bride or the groom cross the marriageable age. So they go to this town a few kilometers away from their own native and find this wonderful family which is not really on the same caste or class, but then they are ready to adjust because he's past the marriageable age. So there he meets Ambika, who's played by Sushmitha Bhat in her Tamil debut, and then there is her sister is played by Meenakshi Dinesh, and her name is Radha. So the Ambika Radha thing is quite good actually. But what happens in this film is such nifty touches gets buried under a lot of chaos, a lot of cacophony, because there are a lot of characters in the film. I don't really know what each character has been playing. I think one of them is an uncle, one of them is an aunt, one of them is a grandmother. They don't really have a lot of dialogues. They don't really have a lot of say. There are only very few characters who are actually established, be it the bride's father, the bride's sister. The bride's mother gets one excellent scene, but she doesn't really get to do much apart from it. And then there is the bride's uncle, Thai Maman, who's played by Muruganandam. Those things are fun. And then on the groom's side, you've got Vikram Prabhu's father, played by Gajraj. You've got Vikram Prabhu's uncle, played by Arul Das, and friend, played by Ramesh Tilak. But then, I just mentioned a few names, but the film always has some 20 characters on screen. And that actually it is filling the scenery, but it's very distracting because you don't really know what each of them are doing in the film. It is ironical that this film is called Love Marriage, considering it is a big exhibition of arranged marriage. But then, if you look at it, the film is set in the pandemic, which is a very, very interesting reminder that whatever happened during the lockdown is not something that was very, very far into the past, just a few years. And to revisit the lockdown, to revisit the permission slips, to revisit the masked times, it's all very, very too close to comfort. It's a nice reminder of the kind of lives we led in 2020, 21, 22. The drill, we all went through that. So what happens is they come for an engagement and then they stay back because of the lockdown. So in the same house, you've got the bride and the groom side. And it's an arranged marriage setup. So the girl is very shy and the guy is not very, very forward. But somehow they want to make things work. And then there's a talkative sister who's also playing a few games around. And then the film leads to one scene after another. It's a very, very normal progression of events. Of course, there's a huge twist that puts a spanner into the works, and then all of them are in jeopardy, all of them are in trouble, all of them are in turmoil, a lot of things happen. But unfortunately, these things happen, but we don't feel anything. There's no sentimental value to it because they're telling us these things are happening, but we don't really connect with these characters enough for us to feel bad about it. Of course, Vikram Prabhu is playing the protagonist, and his character is what is quite etched well. And then there is sister character, then the prospective girl's character. All these do have a kind of an arc, but what happens is we are given just snippets into their life. We are told that Vikram Prabhu's character named Ramachandran is in the mid 30s and is facing a lot of flack from his people, but we don't really see it. And we see Ambika and Radha being polar opposites, and then, but we don't really understand what makes them that way, or why should we root for one character more than the other, what makes them do what they decide to do into the film. So what happens is a lot of things are there, a lot of things are being said, but we don't feel anything, and that's what keeps us at an arm's length away from love marriage. I mean, in the film. The film also goes into preachy territories, but thankfully it does not overstay its welcome. You know, a character who's constantly saying the wrong things throughout the film will get a dressing down towards the end. You know that the character who has been quiet throughout the film will have an outburst towards the end. We don't mind the predictability, but nothing really stands out. But even then, it's still okay for a film like this to exist. As in, why don't we just watch a film about two families trying to make do with the kind of situation that lockdown put them in? It had a potential for a lot more fun, to have a lot more sentiment to be milked, but for some reason the filmmaker doesn't want to go into that space. He's very, very comfortable in just dealing with the film as a straightforward advertisement for marriage. But it also talks about very, very important topics like casteism, misogyny, patriarchy, and they make very, very important points. But it's very nice to see that these points are not really impressed upon or shoved down our throats. It's just told in passing. If you look at those scenes, those actually make a lot of sense, they work. But if you look at it through the lens of the entire film, probably they don't really make the necessary mark. Love Marriage is held together by the earnest performances of Vikram Prabhu, Sushmitha, and Meenakshi. Of course, there is Arul Das, whose main job is to ham it all up, and then Ramesh Tilak, who is relegated to giving these understanding nods and these wise one-liners in between. So all of these things really are funny. The thing is, the film is funny in parts. The film is preachy in parts. The film is sentimental in parts. The film wants to tell a lot of things with a lot of heart. The film tries to make the best out of the idea of the lockdown, though it is not really fleshed out properly. The other characters who have a few scenes to deliver, the actors do it well, but the film does not really support them with the kind of writing that they deserve. There is a scene where Ramachandran says that men like him need alcohol to process things and be bold with what they want to say and even tear up. But unfortunately, the tears of a drunk man is not really respect to society. So a lot of these poignant moments are there, but again, these are all very superficial. They're all very on a very surface level. It doesn't really go deep into the idea of what it is to be unmarried at 33, what it is to wait for the right person to come in their life, and what does it feel like to not really wait at all, because the biological clock is ticking. You need to make a decision. You need to just say yes to whatever comes your way. And where is love in all this? And I think that is what the film wants to explore. The idea that, yes, there is arranged marriage happening right royally in this country, and there are people who say that a lot of Indians would not get married if not for the arranged marriage system. But then in some way we are used to the idea of arranged marriage so much that we want to find love in these places. I think that is what the film also is trying to say, and this is the kind of film where you are very happy to just see things unfold. You're just happy to see the characters be happy, and it is like the throwback to those films, where in the entire cast will be standing in the, let's say, a wedding mandapam or any other place together and just fold their hands and say thank you for coming, and the film ends with the title card of Subham, and times when lives were simple. If you like this video review episode, do like, share and subscribe to Cinema Express, and do let us know what you thought of the review and the film. Until we meet in the next video review episode, this is your friendly neighborhood critic Avinash Ramachandran signing off. Tata.